and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, and the symbol of perfect friendship among the United States. Alrighty, I will call on September 5:32 p.m. This is Charlie. Roll call, please. Dr. Ashamba? We see him online. Guy, are you able to hear us, sir? Hey, Guy, wave if you can hear us. He's here. He is online en route. I believe we will call him here.
Okay. Miss Emily Hunt Bailey.
You see her online?
I see her up there.
Here.
Ortiz.
We do indeed have a quorum. Miss Daly, are you able to hear us, ma'am? This is going to be the quietest board meeting we've ever had. Let me see if I can text Miss Daly. I believe Guy should be here momentarily. Miss Daly?
Can you hear me now? Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Miss Daly, I can hear everybody else is muted on their end. I don't hear anybody but you.
I can hear you. Is this Tracy?
Yeah, it's Tracy.
Okay.
Everybody else has their microphone in red and with a cross around it.
Yeah.
So don't hear anybody but you.
Okay, I'll let them know. I don't know if they can hear me.
I can hear you, ladies. This is Joseph Frawa with PED at the Indian Education Division.
Okay,
But-
so the thing seems to be on their end because we can hear each other, but we can't
Yeah.
hear them.
We
Okay,
are on Zoom.
Right, they're muted on their end. I have to unmute themselves because
Okay,
they're red. They're showing red.
Thank you so much.
you guys were
Our
muted.
technology just figured out what was or whatever the problem was. I'm so glad you're able to hear now.
It was Zach.
Okay.
All right, board members, we are adoption of agenda at this point. So for now, are there any changes to the agenda? If so, what? All right, Superintendent Wagner, do you have a recommendation?
I recommend to.
Wonderful. Board members, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? All right, I'm going to give that one to Dr. Archambault. It has been moved by Dr. Archambault and seconded by Mr. Hanamiro to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none, we shall proceed to roll call vote. Mrs. Turley, please.
Dr. Shambo?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Runyon?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. Board members, adoption of minutes from the September 16th regular board meeting. Are there any amendments to the minutes? If so, what? Superintendent Wagner.
I recommend we adopt the minutes from our September 16th meeting.
Thank you. Board members, is there a motion to approve the minutes for September 16th as presented?
So moved.
I'm going to give that one to Walter, Emily. You beat
Okay.
you just by. Thank you, ma'am. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Ms. Hunt Daly to approve the September 16th minutes as presented. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none, we shall proceed to roll call vote. Mrs. Turley, please.
Dr. Shambo? Ms. Hunt Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. Citizens to address the board. Ms. Shirley, do we have citizens this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. We do have two citizens that I know of that are going to be addressing. I will remind the people who are going to be addressing that they acknowledged reading our policy, and that board members, we are not allowed to address the people commenting at this time, addressing at this time, but we are happy to hear what they have to say. First, I'll invite Ms. Roseanne Pasquale. What did I say? I'm so sorry. Can I sit back down? No, it's not. Exactly. I am so sorry. I didn't know I said it wrong, but they said it wrong. I'm so sorry. I thought I said this wrong. But they say I said something different. I apologize if I didn't say it correctly. Well, I didn't, so. You have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have a document here that was provided by, for the Pueblo of Acoma on behalf of the Department of Education. And I would like to address the agenda item of the tribal consultation. Kung at si Haupa, Tushino, Hai tu sa Kosoat Panusta, Kaitawa Haupa, Strike.
Chuchumu.
The Pueblo of Acoma thanks the board for this opportunity to speak on behalf of our students, parents, and leadership. We thank the Assistant Secretary of Indian Education, Katie Amonico, and Preston Sanchez of the New Mexico ACLU for making the presentations to the board. The leadership and Department of Education are concerned about tribal consultation and believe that the new guidelines and the recent Yazzie Martinez remedy plan will improve the district's consultation. Our comments here represent our expectations and shared understandings regarding the design and implementation of a meaningful, co-created tribal consultation process. These expectations are based on the NMPED 2025 consultation definition, best practices, and reflect our commitment to building an honest, respectful, and ongoing partnership with the district and school board. I will speak about partnership. The Pueblo of Acoma expects this consultation to be a true government-to-government consultation, not just a formality that is checked off. We want mutual respect and open communication between the district and the Pueblo of Acoma. We believe the consultation process should be co-designed from the start, not presented as a finished plan. We want to say we want a say in how it's built and carried out. The first meeting should be focused on collaborating and co-designing the plan. Each of our tribes should have the freedom to choose how consultations happen, separately, together, or in combination, depending on what works best for us. Most of all, consultation needs to happen before decisions are made, not after. We want our ideas and concerns to shape the final plan that affect our students. As far as needs assessment, we believe the needs assessment should be built together, the district, Pueblos, and tribe, deciding what information matters most for our Native students. We want information to be clear and easy to understand, not filled with technical terms that may be hard for families and leaders to follow. We also want the assessment to include more than just numbers. Stories, student voices, and family perspectives matter too. As far as the consultation plan, in the very first meeting, we should decide together everything about tribal consultation, purposes, topics, meeting schedules, logistics, evaluations, and agreements. The plan should be clear, should include clear targets and timelines for improving outcomes for Native students, so everyone can see how progress will be measured. The plan should be considered should consider all local, state, and federal requirements for consultation, including strategic and dash plans and budget development. The plan also needs to connect with the state's bigger remedial plan for at-risk students under the Yazzie Martinez decision, since our students are part of that story too. The plan should always reflect our cultures, languages, and communities, and show that these are key to student learning, not just add-ons. As far as evaluation, we believe that checking how things are going should be something we do together, not just a district report we read later. We want to formally inform the district whether the consultation was successful, meaningful, and respectful. That's part of our accountability to each other. Both sides, district and tribe, should be clear about their responsibilities so that improvement is shared work, not finger pointing. As far as communication, transparency, and cultural respect, we expect to build advanced meeting notices, clear agendas, and any documents ahead of time so we, the tribe, can prepare and participate fully. We want board members to be part of the conversations, to learn about who we are, so there's shared understanding of what consultation means and how it shapes decisions. We expect to set up a clear and ongoing way to communicate, not just during meetings throughout the year. We want our language, culture, and values to be woven into what the district teaches and how it leads, not treated as separate from academics. We also expect the district to help its staff learn more about tribal sovereignty and cultural responsiveness, so that respect for our students, parents, and tribal leaders is shown every day, every subject, and everywhere. And to conclude, future consultations, we support setting up a standing tribal consultation committee that keeps the conversation going all year long, not just a couple of times a year. Above all, we expect tribal consultation to become a normal, permanent part of how the district makes decisions in every area that affects our Native students, curriculum, staffing, budgets, and facilities. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the plan, on the tribal consultation plan. We, the Pueblo and the Department of Education, are disappointed that we were not provided with additional time. This is a clear example of the board listening to what we have to say about the education of our student. It is our sovereign right to help shape the education of our student. Our lives, our Pueblo, and our way of life depend on how well our students are educated. We urge the board to direct the administration to convene the first meeting as soon as possible. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here and sharing that this evening. Thank you. All right, I believe we have another person who's going to be passing, Xavier Riley. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Xavier Riley. I work at Acoma Behavioral Health Services. And what I'm here to present or throw a pitch to you guys today is about the topic of yellow ribbon. For those of you guys that don't know what yellow ribbon is, it's a campaign that began in 1994 in response to a heartfelt plea from teens and adults after the death of a friend and a loved one, Mike Emmy, who was 17 years old. Words said by his family, please don't do this. Please talk to someone. We put on bright yellow paper along with phone numbers of who to call to get help. So it is geared toward suicide prevention. The mission of Yellow Ribbon is that we want to empower the youth and even those who are listening, so of all ages, to raise awareness about youth/teen suicide, along with bringing up these important topics that our communities suffer with unknowingly. So, just a little bit more into this, we had presented this topic to the principal of Laguna Acma. And this is something that we were planning and wanting to do to get into the schools. We had much success on our red ribbon, and that was geared toward opioid and drug awareness. And so, similar campaign, a really inspirational awareness topic. And so, some of the things that we plan on doing at the school is presenting some resources along with the presentation, addressing the stigma, and also taking a different approach as rather than just going in there and talking about suicide, more of celebrating life, and that's our approach. So the topic or the theme would be "You're Not Alone." Then we will open it up for community questions and answers. Moving on down the schedule, we would go on toward a mural that we had came up with. So separated into grade groups, 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th, and 11th through 12th, be in their own group and painting this mural. And so with this mural, they would be expressing themselves through painting. And so with these paint bottles, we would write and label them underneath so that no one could see. And so they would be able to express themselves through painting. So just an example would be some trauma maybe that they went through. I know that these are some really sensitive topics, but you never know unless you try. And so we want to bring this topic to light for the community of Laguna Acton High School. And just so we're covering all the logistics here. Part of our safety plan is to include a clinician who has a background of working with the youth. Also, another individual that works at Acoma Behavioral Health Services that is certified in mental health first aid as an instructor, along with 2 pastors. With this, we will be inviting the tribal council and tribal admin to even share some words of encouragement. And so this is more or less our approach on it. Also, including in the agenda is testimonial. Something that, let me just back up a minute. There is me and another colleague by the name of Talia Lyle, who couldn't make it tonight. And another one of our colleagues, Shelly, who has been really supportive. But the reason why I mentioned Talia in particular too is because we're 2 young individuals trying to push this initiative. And I think we could find some level ground with these kids. And so that's the plan of, telling these testimonials is that you're not alone. I would also like to throw out there that I am a survivor of suicide. But in all of this, that there's a bigger purpose to suicide prevention. And so we come with the message of, saying that you're not alone. And so more or less, this is our pitch. And my hope is that you guys would consider this and would allow us, bring some light into this topic with you, bring some experiences and backgrounds and put that out there. Also, it would be cool to share a testimony with you guys one day. But also, I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to be on the guys' agenda. And that's all I got for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The safety regs is trying, if you don't mind, and we invite Miss Ray up because she is new Russian. Why don't you?
This Ray is here tonight to talk about the Yellow Ribbon Week campaign. Suicide prevention. Ms. Ray, would you like to add a few words?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, President, Executive Leadership, Superintendent. Thank you for allowing us to come and share our plea, if you will, for trying to get a program such as the Yellow Ribbon into Laguna Acoma. As you know, we are starting out fresh. We're trying to attack some of the needs of the school, mental health, social emotional awareness. Those are big topics for us right now. And I was pleased that Mr. Riley came into my office one day and he brought this along with Ms. Valle, and they shared their background and what this could possibly help our students with. And it's funny because on that same day, we had a survey go out to our students asking what they would need. And they want people to connect with. Governor Antonio from the Pueblo of Laguna also tasked me to do a survey with our students to see what they need at our school. Lo and behold, they want people who would be there to comfort them. They want people there who they could talk to about suicide. And these are their own words. And so it was a godsend, but it was also maybe coincidental that this happened at the same time. Along with the Cook Center, we are working with folks from Oklahoma and around the United States and trying to establish the social emotional component of awareness for our students as well. So they would correlate well. It would be a piece that we would undertake and do our best to help students come out of some of the traumas that they've experienced. Not only that, but to show and lend support and encouragement to our kiddos who are suffering in those components of their life, aspects of their life. And I feel like this would be something that would probably open some really hurtful windows. You know, we always say the eyes are the windows to our souls, and if that triggers, if that opens up the mind to our students to telling them that they are not alone, that they have somebody who is there to listen, somebody who is there to help and encourage them, I feel like we could get to a better place than of academics. Because right now we're pushing academics. We're expecting our students to learn. We're expecting them to be the best that they can, but sometimes they need more. And we need to be able to understand them at a level of them telling us without us getting mad or without us condemning them for their thoughts and feelings, because a lot of this is real. And so I feel like this would be a good help. It would be a good awareness to not only the students and the staff, but to the community. And if we had the support of a tribal council, I know we have that from the Pueblo of Laguna. Superintendent was able to sit in with me at a meeting that we had with our governor and his lieutenant governor and a couple council members. They lent their 100% support to us and whatever we need to get done at Laguna Acoma High School. And so with the help of Mr. Riley and his team, this would definitely be a great segue into combating some of the social emotional trauma, harm, emotions that we do carry. You know, we talked to one kid today who says, you know, I have so much on me and nobody understands that. So I painted the analogy of a backpack. You know, you come to school with your books, you come with your water bottle, you come with your from your home, your chores, your feeling of neglect, your feeling of making the right choices, even to the point of being on that cusp of westernized versus traditional. There are so many things in our kids' backpacks these days that we need to try to let the light or let the load a little less. And I believe this is part of it. It's not going to fix everything, but it will definitely help. And so that's how it's going to correlate to what we're trying to do. I know the Martinez Yazzie is also part of that Yazzie Martinez kick in trying to help us understand our students better. So it hits a lot of aspects in education, but more so in social emotional learning.
Thank you so
Yes, ma'am.
much. Board members, do you have a question for Ms. Ray before we move on?
So it's always over the next attendance. Good project.
Yeah.
I think that it kind of fits in with what we heard from Adam. And then we need to, we look at, just the discourse. Academic abilities, so,
Right.
see, what we are. They are hurting, and we don't apply something. And there's a lot of things, things where we should be drawing an identity. And, knowing the pressures of, usually always says, children, our children. So, the work is very worthwhile. Again, that,
Yes. And we're also having a breast cancer awareness walk on that same day. So they're also going to stay for that and take part with our students. So we're kind of putting two things together on that same day that are really important.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ray. Mr.
You're
Riley,
welcome.
we appreciate you hearing, bringing this.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
So that's the first of our recommendations. People who wanted, we can, Ms. Ray can come talk about that and talk about what she's doing for her students at junior, senior high school. We do have a second recognition tonight. It is my honor to introduce you all to Mr. Larry Chavez. He is our new Director of Special Education. He started last Thursday. Almost 2 weeks ago, and has been working very hard getting into all of the schools, meeting with special ed teams, and comes to us with a wealth of knowledge. Mr. Chavez, would you like to say?
Board president, members of the board, executive team. It's really an honor to be here. I've talked to the superintendent about this. There's great things happening here. There's a great foundation. Now it's about moving that thing forward. There's some speakers tonight about some of their suggestions. I think we should take them along with it. We've been talking about what we can do better in the district, especially in the special ed. So we've gone around, started to meet with teachers, administrators, looking at IEP, well, by the best services possible for all of our students, but in my department specifically for those gifted and those in special education.
Good, welcome. Thank you. Right. Very good. Big brother, big sister.
Presentation it is my honor tonight that we have two special guests tonight from Big Brothers and Big Sisters in the Mountain region. We have been talking about partnering and having a great program for our kids at Masonview Elementary and Grants High School. And so, without further ado, I'd like to turn the ladies.
Thank you. And have you guys share some stuff because we drastically underestimated how many of you there would be. Let's see, I think. Okay, you guys, and I have like some extra little papers too, like so you guys can see this. So I think I have like a little extra that are actually. Okay. Well, you have there after you, certainly, but I have one little extra one too. So, yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Sarah Piano. This is
Christelina.
and we're with Big Brothers Big Sisters, as stated by the superintendent. So Big Brothers Big Sisters is a national organization. It's a one-to-one youth mentoring organization that supports youth ages 5 through 18. We're national, but we are located in Gallup, and we cover all the way into grants. We've been working in grants in Cibola County, but we haven't been in the schools. And so we really wanted to bring a program into the schools. So we've been meeting with superintendent about this program. And so I'm gonna have Lena talk a little bit in detail about the program, but I wanted to mention one slight thing. Funny story besides not having enough materials. We recently merged Big Brothers Big Sisters statewide. So we're all over the state. We're local to here, right? But our whole agency. So we're no longer Big Brothers Big Sisters Mountain Region as stated on the MOU. We are Big Brothers Big Sisters out of New Mexico. So I'm pretty sure you guys won't sign an MOU tonight. You'll have to review it. But Madam President it has your name on it as well as superintendent as well as mine. So I will send an update to an email to you guys with the MOU stating our new name of Big Brothers and Sisters of New Mexico. So sorry about that. So I'm gonna have Lena kind of start talking because we're actually, we haven't done this backwards. We're coming to you for support at MOU, but we are actually already working with the high school and elementary school. We did get blessing from the superintendent. And we met with the principals of those schools. And then we were like, okay, we started working to make sure they wanted to do it, but then we were like, oh, we need to come to the school board and also let you guys know. So we just want to be true and transparent about what we're doing. So I'm going to have Lena talk a little bit more in detail about specifically our high school mentoring program, which is what we're presenting tonight.
Hi, everybody. I'm Crystalina, but I go by Lena. So I would be the one overseeing the program here in Grants. We're right now working with Mr. Pacheco at the high school. He has a special class of even avid students. We're working specifically with sophomore students right now because it just happens to work out better with the elementary school on lunch schedules. We like for the high school students to meet with their littles, so they're matched 1-to-1 with kids at the elementary school. And right now we have 9 high school students already signed up, and so we're going to get them interviewed and ready to go as soon as possible. We're just waiting on figuring out littles, so we're trying to work with the elementary school and figure out if there are specific kids that need a mentor. So we're working on that, but we are hoping to start the program pretty soon. So it's going to be on Wednesdays. Our program is going to be from, I believe, 11:30 to 12:30. I'll have to get specific details on that, but we worked it out to where the bigs will be meeting with the littles during lunchtime and then also spending a little bit of time in the classroom helping them with their schoolwork. And so it's not only for them to like be a tutor in the classroom, it's also for them to be a role model and somebody to ask questions to, be a friend for them. A lot of our littles, it's like they all show up on that specific day when their bigs are going to be there because they're super, super excited to see their bigs every single time. We're excited to have this program here and we really appreciate we appreciate all of your support for this.
So just to give you guys a little more detail, you probably gathered from what we just said, but our bigs are the mentors and the littles are the kids. Sometimes the little is taller than the mentors, so it gets confusing, like which one's the big and which one's the little. But and like we said, this really goes well with what actually the presenters from Acoma Laguna said about their program, because this is a lot about social emotional learning as well. And it's really great for the little ones in the elementary school to have someone to look up to. It helps with their grades. It helps with truancy, like Lena said, because they're more likely to show up if they're having being absent a lot. It helps with that, right? Because they're excited to be there when their mentor is there. They're getting help, they're getting support and saying, what's going on at home? What's going on with school? Like, why are you reading? What's going on? Do you not like reading? And it really builds that bond. But for the high school students, it's really helpful because they're learning leadership skills, accountability skills. They're learning how to be a true leader and how to communicate better and work in a team. And that's great because they can actually put that on their college resume, or if they go directly into the workforce after graduating, they can put that on their college application or their resume for the workforce. And that's awesome because this is a national program. We're throughout the whole United States, and we're actually in 13 countries as well. So, I don't know if we'll go to other countries, but they can put this, right? So I know because, right, like we came from Gallup and we don't live here, but we are from a small town. And so I'm always big on high school students staying, graduating, going further in their education, and coming back to their community. But sometimes they go off and maybe go to Washington, Texas, wherever. They can put that on their documents because this program is everywhere, and it really shows for colleges that are looking for, hey, not just good grades, but how involved were you in your community? What did you do to give back? They can put Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we can also write letters of recommendation for those students as they're graduating. We also do something at the end of the year. We do kind of a pizza party, and then if they're graduating and they were a good mentor, those high school students will get a cord similar to like National Honor Society. It'll be green and black, which are our colors, and then a little pin. And then we haven't worked it out with you guys yet, but hopefully in the program, the asterisk saying they graduated from the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. So just to really honor them as being a mentor in the program. And so this is something that we really, it's a great program. It's just something that's so beneficial to kids. And when we were building the program in grants, one of the challenges is that in our adult program, we need to find adults to mentor kids 5 through 18. And we were finding a lot of kids in the grants community, like every community, and not a lot of mentors. And so we really felt like when we're in the schools, it builds a community awareness as well for the whole community, right? Because then the kids go home and they tell their teachers or whoever their guardian, hey, I met with my big brother. And the parents have to sign off. We don't just match these kids without their parents' permission. They have to sign off on that. So it's very up and up. Everyone knows about it. And we're getting recommendations from the counselors and principals at those individual schools on what their need is. So just to give you kind of a little bit more, also forgot to mention I talk really fast. I'm really sorry. People keep telling me to slow down, but at this point in my life, it's too late. So we do want to open it up to questions, but that just gives you a, oh yeah, one more thing, yeah, we're tag team.
On that note, yes, it does count as community service, so it's something, it's something that they need, to sign up for community service, then this works out for them, but also, we were having a little bit of trouble on figuring out the transportation. So we chose specifically students that are able to drive themselves at this point. We do want to grow to at least 12 matches. We're gonna have 9, it sounds like, to start. But we want to grow to 12 and eventually maybe a little bit more than that. And transportation is a big problem right now. So we're just really relying on the students to be able to get themselves there. Also on the high school, they're able to utilize one of the SUVs, I think. So we're trying to figure out the little kinks there. So if there's something that we need to do or that we can try to do to help get transportation going, we would really like some feedback on that.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. We have this program at 7 other schools currently throughout, and more than that throughout the state, but just in our area, 7. And one of the things that district that we work with prior is that the district will provide busing from the high school to the elementary school. And that's something that, I'm not gonna lie, I did put in your MOU, so we did carefully. Because I think that's really helpful because not all students drive. And when a school is close together, we don't, they're close, right? But they can walk right now, but that's a safety concern. And also when it gets to be winter, that's also not great. So the busing, it takes 5 minutes for a bus or an SUV. So as we grow, that is something that many school districts provide as part of the partnership, is that busing from the school. And so we would like to ask that you guys consider that. It's extremely helpful. It doesn't take a lot of time. It does take a little bit of time from a bus driver, but it is helpful to get the students, bussed over. And we've already worked out like the lunch that they would eat. The high school kids will eat lunch, and that's worked out with the individual schools to know how many extra lunches they would need on that week. So just to get that clarity.
Thank you. Board members, any questions at this point?
We love questions based on
school.
no during school. Mhm.
It
Yeah,
happens to be during their avid, one specific avid class. So Mr. Pacheco, I presented to the entire class in the classroom. Only 9 turned in, but I think there's like 15 in that class, thing around there.
so during the avid class, because we are trying not to pull, because the lunch is so short now, I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was in school, like lunch was like an hour, now it's like shorter and shorter. But we don't want to pull kids out of core curriculum classes, right? So we always work with like maybe a mentoring class or something like that. So with the avid class, they'll be able to, I think, go in, not only have lunch, but then part of their avid, they'll go into the elementary school students class and kind of be an extra tutor in the classroom with them. But so that the elementary school kids are not missing out on class time, and then the high school kids are not, because they're doing it during their avid class as volunteer service.
And during their lunch as well.
And during the lunch, like the lunch is aligned as well, yeah.
All right, board members. We have now consideration of approval of the grant Cibola County Schools District and Big Brothers Big Sisters MOU. Mr. Wagner, do you have a recommendation, sir?
I recommend that we approve this partnership.
Wonderful.
Board members, is there a motion to approve the grant Cibola County School District and Big Brothers Big Sisters Mountain Region MOU?
Of New Mexico.
Of New Mexico.
I'm sorry, we did that to you.
That's okay. I can, thank you, sir. I can add that in. It has been moved by Mr. Havanio and seconded by Dr. Archambault to approve the grant Cibola County School District and Big Brother, Big Sisters Mountain Region of New Mexico MOU. Any discussion, board members?
This is the winner. Bus transportation. We approve this, we're approving the bus transportation.
Yeah, I have it in there. That's why I want to be transparent. I'm not trying to hide anything. This is, we are not anticipating using the bus transportation this year because the students, we've worked it out. But for the future, if we'd like to grow, we would like to have that as a viable option. It will be really helpful in order to grow the number of students that we serve in the Cibola grants district.
So, you can get that stable number of nine.
We're trying to get 12.
Get 12, what the transportation this year.
So most of them are going to be able to drive themselves, and the others that are not able to, we had spoken to the high school about one of the staff utilizing an SUV to take the other one. And I believe they're going to try to work on having Mr. Pacheco help us with that too.
Did you agree?
Yes. We have the SUVs and we can help them.
We just needed to hear that out loud, sorry.
Exactly, right? It's also like to hear that.
Yes.
I think it's great. It's like really fun now, so you know, it's not. It's like,
You're right, you have to pay for gas.
I will personally, push the bus if it runs out of gas. It'll probably be not super helpful, but I'm willing to do that.
The suburbs.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Ms. Hunt Daly?
Ms. Daly?
Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I'll send the updated with the name change to both of you tomorrow. Madam President, I believe your email is online. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it certainly is. And if you have Mr. Reiners, he can be certain that I get.
Oh, I definitely have his. So yes,
Very good.
perfect. Thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much for your time. Thank you everybody for your service as well. Serving on the school board. I know that's not easy. So thank you so much. We appreciate the time.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Mr. Reiners, next.
Up next, we have a wonderful donation to one of our schools. It's a great tradition. It's one of the best traditions of Moana Elementary School. So we have Principal Gutierrez and Assistant Principal Prendergast here tonight to talk about the donation for the Run for the Wall.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Whiter, board members, directors. On behalf of Moana Elementary School, myself and Ms. Prendergast, like you mentioned, the past 9 years, we've hosted Run for the Wall participants who do their annual across America for awareness of our veterans. Again, so in this partnership, we've never expected anything from the veterans, but their appreciation to be recognized and through, you know, this tradition being upheld with our elementary and our school district, they were gracious enough in the past to give a donation. And this last year, we just got a donation of $3,000. So we're asking your consideration of us accepting this donation. And that way we can keep it going. Our kids absolutely love it. It's one of the things that our kids and alumni continuously talk about. And it's just one of a kind event. We brought in the slideshow. There's a little video here for anyone that has not seen it. I think a lot of people have. It's just a big deal that we continue It may have audio, and it may not. It should.
That's audio for me.
Anyways, the big picture is we want to continue to grow our partnership with the Run for the Wall. The gentleman that's ahead of it this next year said there's a big surprise coming up. Some senior leaders within the organization for the veteran affairs, it's a big deal. A lot of us have veterans in our families, even participants from grants in this local area that participate in this, and we again, it's the donation is the icing on the cake. It's more for us and our school to keep hosting it. So again, with your consideration, we hope that you'd let us accept this donation.
Very good. Board member questions for our principal and assistant principal from the one.
Good. They stop through grants and the law. They look forward to it, not just you know that kids are involved in that. Yeah.
All right, board members, consideration of approval of the donation to Milan Elementary from the Run for the Wall operation in the amount of $3,000. Mr. Wagner, recommendation, sir.
I recommend that we gratefully and graciously accept this donation.
Excellent. Board members, is there a motion to approve the donation to Milan Elementary from the Run for the Wall in the amount of $3,000? Thank you, gentlemen. It has been moved by Mr. Javier and seconded by Dr. Archambault to approve the donation to Milan Elementary from the Run for Wall operations in the amount of $3,000. Any discussion, board members?
Let us know next time. I'd like to be there.
Absolutely.
That'd be fantastic.
That's one of the big things that I saw last year. There was some we didn't know, and we just expect, so we're gonna do better just with invitations and inviting more of our veteran families and other partners in the DCCS community, because if you haven't been there in a while or what, it's really refreshing to see our kids. So again, we will formally invite you all to come to this event.
Excellent. Anything else, board members? Hearing none, we shall proceed to roll call vote. Mrs. Shirley, please.
Dr. Archambault?
Yes.
Ms. Matt Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Raju? Mrs. B?
The motion carries.
Thank you all so much.
Absolutely. And right here, or maybe the wrong here. Mr. Ryder.
Madam President, we now have an update from the New Mexico Public Education Department regarding tribal consultation and what it means to have meaningful tribal consultations. Assistant Secretary Wanico has been traveling the state for the last few months this summer, talking with tribal leadership teams, talking with school leadership teams, and kind of giving us some direction and guidelines to what a consultation should consist of. I don't see Miss Wanico on the meeting.
She's there.
Okay.
I'm here. Good afternoon, Board President and Superintendent, as well as all the other board members. I am surviving the flu, so I am home in my pajamas, so I'm not going to turn on my camera, but I didn't want to cancel a second time, and so I'm going to try to get through the presentation without too much coughing because I'm experiencing shortness of breath, but I'm happy to be here. I do have a team member on the call, Joseph Frawa, who works for our division. But thank you for the welcome. Again, good afternoon. Always excited to be here. I'm a Grants High School graduate and always excited to be in front of this audience. So thank you for having me. So I want to share screen. Give me a second. So I'm going to go through a lot of documents, but I first want to start And I saw Miss Pasquale have the information on the podium, and that's wonderful to see the actual release of the tribal consultation definition and best practices. And so, just as Superintendent mentioned, many districts across the state have been asking the Public Education Department to support them as well as publish tribes and nations in understanding when tribal consultation is required and what does it look like to engage in meaningful conversations and decision making with tribal partners. And so this document in front of you, I tell you, took about a year and a half. I've been in my position for nearly 2.5 years to get to a final approved state. And so, if anything, tribal consultation takes time, it takes patience, but of course, it takes back and forth decision making processes with tribal leaders. And so we've really set up the definition to have a long version as well as a short version, understanding that some districts and charters may quote the definition or may use it within their handbooks, which I think is very, will be very influential as you all start to engage using this definition. I also want to point your direction to the best practices. Again, as mentioned by Superintendent, me and my team did our work to travel across the state to engage with tribal leaders at various points throughout the year to ask for feedback on draft definitions that were presented in prior years. And through that process, tribal leaders tweaked. They said they didn't like this term. They asked us to include some terms. We finally came to a final definition and outcome. This definition and best practices is approved by the Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's office. It was also vetted through the Indian Affairs Department. And really, again, we hope this definition will help us streamline understanding as well as streamline implementation. I will say that one thing that tribal leaders did ask for us to include is the inclusion of board members as members who engage in consultation with tribal leaders. So we did make that addition to the version that we had prior to the release. So this document is available on our website, can also be sent to you via email. It was publicly released on September 24th to all superintendents, state charter leaders, as well as local charter leaders. In addition to the definition, we released an official memo identifying to superintendent and charter leaders that the definition is now available and that according to the Indian Education Act, which is the state statute that guides our work, as well as New Mexico Administrative Code and MAC 6.35.2, tribal consultation is required when districts and charters are completing and submitting a student needs assessment, and also when they are completing and submitting a systemic framework. Now, we are not encouraging tribal consultation to be limited to those two instances. And I'll point our direction to this paragraph within the memo. So tribal consultation is vital, as we all know, to ensuring that our tribal perspectives are meaningfully integrated in planning and decision making. Decision making that's happening before the actual decision has been completed. Information sharing is always great, but we're trying to get away from that. And yes, we think you should all still have those occasions when you're providing data to tribal leaders, you're providing all the wonderful resources that you have for Native American students. But tribal consultation is more than that. It's a decision-making process. There should be an agenda, there should be an objective. Tribal leaders should know in advance when the meeting is going to occur and what's going to be asked of them so that they have time to think about what they will be discussing when they engage in tribal consultation. And so we really are, again, sending the message that tribal consultation is ongoing, but aligned to statute and rule, there are two instances when districts and charters must submit documented tribal consultation to the Public Education Department. Now I'm going to jump to another screen. As I mentioned, tribal consultation is very complex when we think about state statute. And so I'll provide all this information to you because, again, it's very complex. So within the last previous months, my division released updated guidance for districts and charters, along with districts and charters asking us for a clear definition of tribal consultation. Districts and charters were asking us for clear guidance on how to be compliant with the Indian Education Act and the rule. And so we've heard those requests and we've released the guidance that you see on the slide. There are 5 guidance booklets available to districts and charters. The first one is the Tribal Education Status Report. Actually, Cibola County did submit the Tribal Education Status Report. So thank you for doing that, Superintendent. And I point to the next document on the screen, Developing the American and Alaskan Native Student Needs Assessment. Up top, you'll see that these requirements within law, they run on cycles. And so it's easier to understand when you look at the picture in front of you. We will be in cycle 3. And so that means all of the documents that are required, the needs assessment, the systemic framework, the budget alignment justification, the annual evaluation of progress, those will all be due in the next year in the cycle 3. So Grand Cibola County School District has met the standard for submitting the documentation for cycle 1 and cycle 2. And so you all will be prepping to submit your documents in 2026 and 2027, and then each of the 2 years thereafter. So again, very complex. Stay with me. So the needs assessment that grants will submit next year is due October 15th. Tribal consultation is required when you engage in that process. A needs assessment is really gathering information from community members, from students, on what are their needs that you can prioritize in the systemic framework for the next 3 years. On January 15th, after you've completed the needs assessment, you then have to develop a systemic framework. The information gathered from your needs assessment through tribal consultation, tribal leaders will identify to you, based on the data you gathered from the needs assessment, these are the priorities we want to see in the systemic framework. On January 15th, we will check, as the department will check to see, through the submission of the systemic framework, we will check to see that you've incorporated the consultation, the outcome of tribal consultation. What did tribal leaders ask you to include in the systemic framework? We will look for that. Again, we are requiring formal documentation of tribal consultation during the needs assessment and the systemic framework. You'll see later on in the year, April 15th, the next year, 2027, that Grand Cibola County School Districts will be required to submit a budget for the next school year, as well as you'll need to tell the Public Education Department how you intend to incorporate the needs you've gathered from the needs assessment into the budget. How are you prioritizing the funding to meet the needs identified by tribal leaders? You'll submit that with your upcoming school year budget. That's all. You're also required in statute. It says to submit those to the tribes within your exterior boundaries. The last document you'll submit for cycle 3, due May 15, 2027, to the Public Education Department, is an annual evaluation telling us how the needs assessment went, how the systemic framework is going. And at that time, tribes have the opportunity to tell the district how to adjust the systemic framework based on the annual review of progress. And so again, you'll see that it's an ongoing process back and forth. Additionally, you'll see the information at the bottom of the slide. Within statute and rule, it identifies that districts and charters must also hold 2 public meetings to specifically talk about the needs assessment and the systemic framework. And those need to happen once by November 30th and then by April 30th. Within statute and rule, it does identify that tribal leaders must be a part of those public meetings. And so, again, colleagues, tribal consultation is very complex. I understand that. And even at the department, we are working through many avenues to learn how to improve every time we engage in consultation. This information I can provide to you, but the overall thing is we really want to engage with our tribal leaders, their designated proxies, as well as anybody that they identify as the experts from their community and really honor their voices aligned to statute and rule. The other thing that we're working on at the department is shared accountability. I've said openly in front of tribal leaders that yes, it is the district and charter's responsibility to engage, but it's also the responsibility of tribal leaders and tribal partners to be respectful and also being accepting of those invitations to engage in consultation. So again, shared accountability also takes the public education department in observing, and that's where we are in that stage right now. Now that we've released the tribal consultation definition, we've released a memo stating the 2 times we're requiring the documentation. We've released guidance. Now me and my team will be across the state to observe how the definition is being implemented and then think about how we can refine moving forward. I do want to highlight that the Albuquerque Public School District used the definition on Monday of this week. And so APS normally holds 2 summits per year. And during our observations, it was mostly information giving. There was no back and forth decision-making process discussions happening between executives, meaning the superintendent and school board members, with tribal leaders. Instead, it was speaking at tribal leaders. That is not the definition that we've released. And so APS took the advice, and so on Monday, they held their first tribal consultation using the definition. The first half of the summit was information giving. Again, as I acknowledge, you do want to share data to publish tribes and nations. That's important. You do want to highlight successes of students. You do want to talk about the programming. But the second half of the day was only for tribal leaders or their designated proxies, as well as the superintendent. She had her cabinet leadership. She also had board members. And only those individuals were in a room talking about discussions and things related to their students. And so, granted, we have some improvements to make, and we are there to provide feedback and next steps moving forward. But I really want to acknowledge APS in their first attempt in using the definition, and tribal leaders were quite responsive to that. And so I will pause there. Again, it's a lot of information, but just want to again acknowledge that Grand Cibola County School District has been a great partner. You all have asked for guidance. We've been out there to do presentations and want to acknowledge that as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, even though we're gonna take your word for being in your pajamas. And so we didn't get to see you, but we sure hope that you feel better. Board members, are there any questions you have at this time for Ms. Juanito?
I do have one, Ms. Juanico. This is Emily Hunt Daly. I'm from the Pueblo of Laguna, and this is my 12th year on the school board, and my last 12th year on the school board. At one point in time, we were called before a committee from the Tribal Consultation Department. Does that committee still exist, and do we utilize them if we need information or interpretation? Or was the committee, I remember having a Zoom meeting where they kind of scolded us for something that was going on within our district. So I'm not sure. Is that committee still in existence?
So good afternoon, Board Member Daly. So I apologize for the scolding. It was not me. Nothing comes to mind when I hear that question. So if I'm speaking on behalf of the Public Education Department and whether or not a committee exists there, I'm going to say no. The only committee that I'm guessing would have any input on tribal consultation is the Indian Education Advisory Council that works with the Public Education Department. And so I'm not sure if you're speaking about a committee that's specific to any of the Pueblos, but for the Education Department, no, there is not a tribal consultation committee.
Okay, thank you. I believe that it addressed, it wasn't just with the pueblos in our district, but in general. I don't know what. I think I was the only one on the board at the time that this happened. So yeah, I felt scolded, but it was. I'm glad to hear that we're taking this avenue and we talk at great lengths on what's good for not just our native students, but for students in general. Thank you very much for your information.
So Board President and Board Member Daly, so if anyone's answering to tribal consultation at the Public Education Department, it'll be me directly. So if you have any questions, you can send those to me. Of course, you're always welcome to send them to Secretary Mariana Padilla as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Archambault.
Yes, Michael, good evening. This is Dr. Archambault, board member representing, representing Acoma and Navajo. I think it's timely, it's important, it's critical, it's valuable what has been done. We know that our tribes consider education to be critical to the needs of their well-being, and the districts provide a public education that is meant to achieve goals that are compatible, that are identical to what the Pueblos desire and what the tribe desire. And so I'm studying it very carefully. I looked at the timeline. I can see that it provides, it's a long-term timeline in the sense that you move to engage us up into the 2027. And but I'm concerned about this year. Explain to me how what you portray tribal consultation be for this current year, because there are critical events locally that we have to acquire tribal consultation, and we have all the different state and federal funding sources that require current ongoing tribal consultation. You have the IPP, which identifies specific responsibilities for the district to engage the tribes and the parents. You have the Education Act and the various NADO programs. How do you see us conducting our consultation for this year? I kind of missed that. You spoke about it.
So, Board Member Archambault, thank you for the question. So that's an excellent question. I always, at the state level, when I have a decision to make, my first thought goes to, does it affect Pueblos, tribes, and nations? It's usually always a yes. Very little is it a no. That's when I know I need to engage in tribal consultation. And I shouldn't be waiting on a time clock to tell me when that should happen. It should be immediate. So I would say to look back at the information that Grand Cibola County School District has submitted that's required by law, and I'm talking about the needs assessment, right? So I shared there are cycles. Cycle 2, the district should have submitted a needs assessment in 23. They should have created a systemic framework in 24. The budget justification and the annual evaluation should have also occurred then. They occur every 3 years. If there was no consultation done during that time frame, as required by statute, I would encourage you to engage in it immediately or very soon. But back to the idea that tribal consultation is an ongoing thing. Whenever you feel, again, that it's going to affect the students from Pueblos, tribes, and nations, you should engage in tribal consultation. Or also, you asked a very important question. One thing I did not mention, that's very important to this group, is that the Public Education Department also released a memo from the Secretary's office talking about accreditation. So accreditation was in a pilot year last school year. This school year, it's not a pilot year. And so the Indian Education Division, as well as other bureaus across the department, are already going through the rating system that's tied to accreditation. So there are 10 components that will lead to the outcome or decision on whether or not a school is accredited. As you'll see, number 10, tribal consultation, tribal education status report, and the needs assessment are one of those components. And so our team is actually rating districts on whether or not they are meeting compliance with state statute. If they don't meet the provisions of the statute, they could risk their accreditation status. And so again, in that way, tribal consultation is very important, and we have to see documentation. And so to your question, Board Member Archambault, as soon as you know you need to engage, you should engage in tribal consultation.
Thank you for that information. What I heard from Akima this evening was somewhat parallel in terms of their desire for engagement, and that I believe I heard it said that they would like to begin the engagement soon. So that fits into what it is that we would seek to do. And from what I was hearing from what she said is that this is from Roseanne Pasquale from 8008. Is that
Dr. Kite, remember, we're about to address comments, and I'll remind the board that we do have another presentation regarding Yazzie Martinez waiting for us.
What I want us to do is to take our own board with respect to saying that we need a written consultation plan, and that we would want to discuss that along with any particular meetings that we're going to have this fall, so that we can engage in dialogue, in interaction this fall and this spring, and all the key areas that we typically, and you already know what we'll talk. So we would want to make sure that we are addressing all of those responsibilities for consultation that are required of us. So I do thank Assistant Secretary Juanito for making the presentation to us and providing us with valuable information on how we're going to be much more effective in consulting with our three tribes.
Excellent. Very well said.
Madam President, one short question for Ms. Juanico. So if we do not perceive that tribal consultation happened in cycle 1, does that mean we have to go back and redo it?
Board Member Daly, no, it'll be moving forward. We are going to let people know, though, within this year, if you are not compliant, you'll have to get in compliance. And so that information will come directly from my office to superintendent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Juanito, for being here. And we do wish you well and a speedy recovery. Thank you so much for your time and expertise and truly depth of knowledge in this topic for us. This will help us as a district moving forward. Mr.
Yes.
Weinberg.
One last comment, Miss Juanico, Joey Shot School, Nawana Drana.
Thank you, Ms. Juanico. We appreciate you. I'm excited that we're on this trail. I'm excited that we have our next guest speaker here as well tonight. He's gotten to be an old friend because he's worked with our board a lot, talking to us about Yazi Martinez and what's going on with Yazi Martinez. We have, it's been a good week in terms of the Yazi Martinez litigation. And so I'm very pleased that we have Mr. Preston Sanchez here tonight. He's going to talk to us about kind of what's going on in other model districts. And so Preston, if you're there, I don't see you on my screen, but I hear that you're here.
Yes, sir.
I am. Good afternoon, members of the board, board chair, superintendent, and friends. I'm also here with my co-counsel, Melissa Candelaria. Melissa, are you on?
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you all for having us. It's always a good opportunity for us to share the latest and greatest in the world of Yazi Martinez. Which is what we're here to do today, is just to provide you all some updates on the latest in the litigation, as well as some of the things that are happening moving forward. And then we're happy to answer questions with whatever time that we have left. Before I go on, though, I think you all know me. I'm Preston Sanchez. I'm an attorney at the ACLU of New Mexico. I represent the Yazi plaintiffs in the Yazi Martinez litigation. I've been on this case since I was just a knee-high to a duck. I mean, I've been on this case since we filed it. And, I've been at this board, in front of this board on several occasions to discuss the happenings. So that being said, I'm just going to pass it over real quick to Melissa, and then I'll take it back to start us on the updates.
Thanks, Preston. Good evening, everyone. School board, thank you for having us this evening. My name is Melissa Candelaria. I'm the education director for the New Mexico Center on Law and Poverty, and I'm also the attorney representing the Yazi plaintiffs on this case with Preston and two others. So just want to say thank you, and I'm from the Pueblo of San Felipe.
Right, and members of the board president, is it fine if I just take it from here with some updates and then you guys jump in where you feel it's important? Okay. I see a head nodding. I see small faces on my screen, but I can barely see you all. So as you all may remember, in late 2024, the Yazi and the Martinez plaintiffs filed a joint motion of non-compliance against the state of New Mexico, which includes the New Mexico Public Education Department, as well as the state legislature. Basically, a bunch of evidence showing that the state has not complied with the court's ruling from 2018. We requested at the same time that the judge order the state of New Mexico to develop what's called a comprehensive remedial action plan. This would be a plan that addresses a number of systemic issues affecting students across the state, in large part including the lack of accountability, the lack of funding, and the lack of resources for students to succeed in school. In April of 2025, this year, the court held oral arguments on the motion before it made its final decision on the motion. But in the end, the plaintiffs, both of Martinez and the Yazi plaintiffs succeeded. The judge granted our motion, finding that the state is non-compliant with the court's ruling from 2018. and ordering the state of New Mexico to develop a comprehensive remedial action plan. This may be steps that you all are aware of at this point. On May 20th, 2025, the judge entered its order requiring the PED to work with the Legislative Education Study Committee staff as to develop the remedial action plan. And as you all may know, in July of this year, the PED contracted with several subcontractors to help develop the plan. This includes an organization known as WestEd. They're not from New Mexico. I don't remember exactly where they're from. Some of you may know. And they also subcontracted with the Lanel Foundation. There were several other subcontractors as well, but I think those are the two major players who were contracted with. And they were responsible to begin the process for developing the comprehensive plan. And as part of that planning process, starting in August, the PED, along with WestEd and Lanel, held what we know as the regional planning meetings. You guys may have been aware of these planning meetings that were happening all across the state of New Mexico, made available for the public to attend, the purpose of which was to gather public input about several issues impacting public schools. I think 11 total were done in person, and I think 5 were done virtually. So you may have attended some of these. I attended the one in Santa Fe. I thought it was well organized and well planned. There was childcare and food provided as well. On September 24th, PED submitted a draft version of its action plan. It's known as the Draft Action Plan, which you can find on its website. The PED is seeking comment and feedback and as well as public comment. And Melissa and I and the legal team, we highly encourage everybody, including you all, to review the plan, understand what it is attempting to do, understand what are its shortcomings, understand, what is possible and what is it you like to see that is not currently in that plan, and provide those comments and critiques at this time. And then most recently on October 1st, 2025, the PED, which was required by the court to submit a status report laying out all of the steps that the PED has taken at this point to develop that plan. And so we just received the PED's status report 5 days ago. And it really provides some insight for us as the legal team to understand what their process was for developing that plan and where they plan to go next. That being said, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Melissa, who will give you more insight about the public comment period, as well as our legal team's thoughts about the current draft of that plan.
Thank you, Preston. So as Preston mentioned, the draft was provided to the legal team, and PD also shared the draft education plan on their website. So if you go to the PD website, there's a link there for the Yazzie Martinez plan, and they have open public comment, and the deadline for public comment is October 17th, and you can click on there via that portal and give your input in the various areas that they're asking input on. With regard to the next deadline, as Preston mentioned, in April, the judge did order this development of education plan for Yazzie Martinez. And so they've met the October 1st deadline, which was to have the draft. The next deadline is November 3rd, and then is when PED must submit a final version to the court. And then the next deadline is December 1st, and that's for a court review, and where the plaintiffs, as the judge said, may return to court to demand a better education plan that addresses the needs of the 4 student groups at the center of the case. And as you all know, the 4 student groups in the case include Native American students, English language learners, students with disabilities, and economically disadvantaged students. So with regard to the draft plan that was provided to us on October 1st to the plaintiffs, while we haven't had enough time to fully review the plan in its entirety, we have taken a cursory look, and it really does appear to be more of a plan to create a plan, and it lacks essential components that the plaintiffs want to see in a comprehensive education plan for the state and to be in compliance with the Yazzie Martinez 2018 ruling, as well as all the other orders that have come since. So what we're finding and what we have told PD on the draft is that it lacks multi-year cost estimates and a funding plan to implement what's in the draft plan so far. There's no objective measures and targets to measure progress. It lacks it's only a short 3-year time frame, and what the plaintiffs initially requested was at minimum a 5-year plan. It's incomplete as far as accountability and enforcement measures or mechanisms for at-risk students. There's no PED agency capacity build out. And one of the things that we had mentioned in our noncompliance motion and argued is that in order for a good plan to be implemented, that the PED really needs the human capacity to help help school districts and schools implement the plan. So there's nothing in there thus far, and it really is an incomplete roadmap as far as any statutory or regulatory guidance and to school districts and schools and how they're going to be implementing this plan. And lastly, as was mentioned by Ms. Juanico, we want to see, where in the plan that PED is going to be enforcing true tribal consultation as required under the New Mexico Education Act. So just very generally, that's some of the things we've pointed out thus far, and we'll continue to do a deep dive in our analysis and evaluation of the draft plan, and we'll be using our analysis as well as input from subject matter experts that we've engaged with to be able to go back to the drawing board with PD and negotiate and talk about how we can improve the plan as the next step. So that's where we are right now. Thank you.
Thank you both so very much. We appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. We know we went a little longer than we anticipated with our earlier items. Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Sanchez or Ms. Candelaria?
Yours is very much guidelines that the week goes to you to come quicker than we think that we ready for a longer plan.
Dr. Guy?
That's true. Board member. Our news that it is far too short. And the problem has lasted or has been in existence for decades. So for a state to consider that it can accomplish all these great things in 3 years is not realistic. But that's just everybody's surface. Everybody is examining this in detail. But as I looked at the goals are very general and not specific enough for us to try to generate some concrete changes in teaching and learning, or in the actual regulatory guidance that the state is going to provide. The state has a strategic plan that it's supposed to try and implement. I'm not sure how this fits into that. We as a board need to look for things that are going to impact us this year. I'm not sure whether that's possible, but we can look at that. But yet, I think there needs to be, the turnaround was very quick, fortunately. And the stakeholder engagement part was, I think, uneven and at times ineffective. I did not see sufficient numbers of grassroots people in Albuquerque or in Gallup. I saw mostly professionals. And we are trying to address a long, almost intractable problems that are families and our parents that have faced for many years. And so I think there has to be a more creative way to start going to engage the grassroots people. That's a challenge. And we as a board, as a district, we have to participate in that engagement so that we do our fair share of what it is that we need to do at our local level. Nevertheless, the case, the court, the judge stated that this is insufficient. And sufficiency, equity, quality must be produced in some concrete fashion in the years to come. I look forward for us to continue to examine this. I think there's a summit coming up with the tribes and on the 16th, I'm sure. I would imagine that this will be discussed at that time. I think the tribes, as a sovereign group, should have a place in this, but they do not. That's one of the, nor do the schools. We do not have a place in it. And I understand why. And, but nevertheless, we have to receive our information from resources such as you, both representing your organizations, plus all the other organizations that are involved, and there's a group of people who are an organization that have been actively involved in advocating for this for quite some time. And I expect that we will want to be a part of that discussion right now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Archambault. Again, I can't express enough gratitude and appreciation, Mr. Sanchez, Ms. Candelaria, for both of you being here and giving us this update as to where everything is standing right now. And we know as a district that we always have a lot of work to do to make sure that all of our students' needs are met to the best of our abilities. And we thank you for this conversation with us this evening. Thank you so very much for taking the time to do that for us and for our students and our community to be better educated and updated on this subject.
Thank you. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to give us this moment to speak with you all about these things. So appreciate it.
It's really good to see you both.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Have a good evening, y'all. Thank you. All right, Mr. Widener, those were great topics and conversation.
They were. And continuing in our tradition, our most recent traditions, we talk a lot of policies in our board meeting. And so Ms. Gallegos Ortiz is here now. She's got a whole list of first reads that we're going to do. They're first reads. So we can keep this kind of brief, but there's a whole alphabet there. So Ms. Gallegos Ortiz, Amanda, thank you for presenting these first reads to us, and we'll turn the podium and the microphone over to you.
All right, I don't know why I can see my presentation up there, but I can't see it on here.
Just make you stand up there.
Yeah, you could just. No, I found it. Madam President, members of the board, tonight I will start with a first read on volume 24, number 2, that was presented by Policy Services Advisory, February of 2025. The first one is Policy Advisory number 247. This is policy A0750, ADB/ADC, which is the drug, alcohol, and tobacco nicotine-free schools. This policy was just previously referenced in a variety of other policies. With this recommendation for updating, this will now become the main policy for this area. Also in there is added a regulation, policy, or I'm sorry, regulation A0761 ABD/ABCR. This regulation is a new regulation that primarily addresses the signage, and it is derived from the now deleted regulation of K1761. Next is policy advisory number 248 E2011. That is on page 12 of the policy advisory. And this transportation regulation is amended slightly to add the full range of prohibited drug, alcohol, and nicotine products to the list of prohibited items on a school bus, just to add because of the new policy that's getting put into effect. Any questions on this one?
Okay.
The next one is policy advisory 249. This is G0881, staff conduct with students. This information is on page 23. This exhibit is related to staff conduct with students, is amended to add the word nicotine 2 times in the list of prohibited items. So again, following in line with the new policy that's going into effect. The next one is policy advisory 250. This policy will be deleted, and the first one that I talked about will be taking its place. The next one, policy advisory 251, G6100, discipline, suspension, termination, and discharge of professional staff members. This is page 42 of the policy advisory. This one changed only to add a cross-reference to the new policy of A0750. That's the only thing that was changed in this policy. Policy advisory number 252, G9300, discipline, suspension, termination, and discharge of support staff members. Again, the only change was to add the cross-reference to the new policy of A0750. The next policy advisory number is 253, policy I6631 for school volunteers. Nicotine is added to the list of items on paragraph 13 regarding things not to possess or use in schools. The next one is policy advisory 254, policy J2300, student conduct. Again, adding nicotine to the list of prohibited substances and adding A0750 as a cross-reference to the policies. The next one is policy advisory number 255, recommendation to delete policy J3000 because the other one is now going to be the main policy for this area. Next is policy advisory 256. This is for regulation, student discipline, and the exhibit for student discipline J4611 and J4632. The regulation added tobacco and nicotine to the list of prohibited items, and the exhibit added and nicotine to the tobacco reference. Next is policy advisory 257. This is policy J5350, as administering medicines to students. Again, the only thing for this is added a cross-reference to the new policy 80750 and deleted the cross-reference to J1CG as it is recommended to be deleted. The next one is policy advisory 258, policy K1681, community use of school facilities exhibit. Nicotine is added to the list of prohibited items. For policy advisory number 259, K1700, public conduct on school property, again, nicotine is added to the list of prohibited items. On policy advisory 260, it is recommended that this policy be deleted, and that is policy K1750, tobacco use, smoking on school premises, and K1761, the regulation for that. It's also recommended to be deleted in its entirety. So that's all for first read.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Any questions?
Mr. Wagner wasn't kidding with the whole alphabet. You're just a few short.
And the moral victory is do not smoke. Nicotine is bad.
Yes.
Nicotine is bad.
But I think it is a good update because it is putting it all into one instead of having it in several different.
Yes, ma'am. That makes a big difference. Thank you. Board members, any questions? Probably not. Second read?
Okay. Second read is policy advisory volume 24, number 1, also done February of 2025. This policy advisory number 246, policy J49, 9400 GE retiree return to work. This policy is being updated. And I'll just go ahead and read the reason it was updated. On July 22nd, 2024, the ERB notified school districts of changes to the return to work regulation that took effect July 1st of 2024. The new regulation requires each local administrative unit, which includes all public school districts, to create, maintain, and distribute to its employees an internal return to work policy consistent with NMAC 2-82-5, rather than attempt to recreate the entirety of the return to work regulation in policy. Policy Services decided to provide a more simplified policy statement that any ERB retiree who works for an LAU in any capacity, including as independent contractor, must apply for and receive approval from ERB or incur penalties to their retirement benefit. The policy changes are to G9400GE as shown in Policy Advisory 246. Madam President, at this time, I will entertain any questions that you have.
Board members, any questions? All right, we will move to consideration of approval of policy advisory number 246 G-9400 GE, retire, return to work. Superintendent Wagner.
Amanda, thank you for making these so easy for us. I recommend that we approve this policy update.
Excellent. Board members, is there a motion to approve the policy advisory number 246 G-9400 GE, retire, return to work?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Daly. Thank you, sir. It has been moved by Ms. Hunt Daly and seconded by Mr. Jaramillo to approve policy advisory number 246 G-9400 GE, retire, return to work. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Turley, please.
Ms. Hunt Daily,
Yes.
Mr. Halio,
Yes.
Mrs. Weeks.
Aye, motion carries. Mr. Weiser.
At this time, we have another exciting presentation and action item. One of everybody's favorite guys in the district is going to come to you, board members, and Mr. Tafoya is going to present a purchase, a price for mini Chromebooks. And we desperately need mini Chromebooks in the district. And so without further ado, Mr. Isaac Tafoya is going to talk to you about purchasing some Chromebooks.
That's what, Madam President, Lieutenant Widener, members of the board, directors, thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to be here tonight. Mr. Chavez, welcome to our district and glad to meet you in person. So yeah, let's talk about some Chromebooks. Let's see, where should I start? I guess I'm coming here for you tonight seeking approval for the utilization and exhausting of the funds of an old COVID fund and tech note. And we are going to be maximizing this fund and utilizing it for getting us back to a district 1-to-1 student to Chromebook ratio. It'll get us back to that, and some we'll have a buffer after this at each school. And to, I guess, let you guys know where we're currently at, we're about 3,030 students, roughly, maybe probably plus that now after the last time we checked. We are about 300, maybe 350 shy Chromebooks, so this purchase will definitely get us beyond that and some, so that we can take this on into the future. And our new method of managing this, these are working out great. With classroom sets being a thing, I'm hearing nothing but good things at the schools where our repairs are down significantly this year, so that's something I wanted to share off the bat. But yeah, let's talk about the bidding process. We gave it to 3 vendors, tried to get 4 to get some bids on this, and I started with 400 Chromebooks because I wasn't sure how much it was going to cost to get that maximum, and I didn't want to give any of the vendors the maximum amount of our budget. So I tried to get apples to apples, same amount on 400, same Chromebook model, same specs on all of them, so they were all varying and consistent. And of course, CDW came in the lowest, and so I was working closely with them to maximize this budget fully. I also included this idea with second shop. They were a close second, but after the final quote, they came in the lowest, about $50,000 cheaper. So it's going to be a good thing that we, get this done. And let's see, the amount of the budget, I don't know if that's important to share with you all, $445,000 is what it's gonna be in that budget. So that's gonna get us up to about 681 Chromebooks, which is gonna be huge. That'll get us beyond our deficit, and we'll be able to fill each site libraries with some extras for when those Chromebooks go out for repair, which have been minimized, of course, and we'll have good things coming this year with that. And on a side note, for the high schools that do want to check out Chromebooks to the students, we're gonna be pushing out, I'll be working with the insurance company so we can have our parents and students have access to purchasing their own insurance on these Chromebooks if we still do want to check them out and send them home with the students. So that'll help us greatly in this regard to keeping up with our new numbers. But not a lot more to share on this. I was hoping to keep it as short as I can. You're all safe, and if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take them right now.
Board members, questions for Mr. Tafoya?
Maybe just what did we do with the old ones?
Old ones? I mean, the only old ones we have are decommissioned. They're in a pile of boxes for parts. We're using those parts so we can repair in-house if possible. If not, we're going to be sending them out for repair. And this quote includes a 4-year accidental coverage warranty, so it's going to be a huge thing on that. The old ones, Generation 1, Generation 2, we're going to try to put those in the cows at the libraries for rental or
loaners when one comes back for repair. And we're gonna try to utilize the new ones and put those ones in the classrooms for use. And so the old ones, we aren't really gonna have a lot of old ones sitting around. Each school should have, if I'm doing the math right, I had about 30, 40 Chromebooks in each library for use of loaners when they're out for repair. But again, I'm seeing that being a minimized number hugely this year. Last year was just exhausting seeing how many were coming back for repair, but I'm hearing a lot of good things with our new model, so. Hope that answers your question. Ms. Bailey.
Yeah. So if we're not experiencing a good return value, and is it because kids are misusing them, breaking them? And you mentioned you're going to have a policy to fix those. Will that be the same process? Those that were, I hate to use the word, beaten up by students. Um, is that what it's for, or is it just to repair something that goes wrong?
A little bit of both. I mean, if they get damaged or abused, of course, our accidental damage warranty should cover just about everything and anything in that realm. But definitely on the Gen 1s that will, start failing on us just because of age, they're getting up to that 5-year mark to where we're starting to see screens fail and hinges fail, and that's just gonna be a given with those Gen 1s. But I'm also working on getting another quote aside from this to extend some of the warranties on those Gen 1s and Gen 2s that are in the schools right now. And we're gonna do an extended warranty on some of those for a couple more years to see if we can't get some more life out of them. So this should carry us on into the next few years, this purchase of Chromebooks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hoya.
Thank you.
Dr. Guy, did you have a question?
The specifications are very basic. So that's excellent. The last comment you made about the insurance.
The insurance? I wish I would have brought a flyer with me. I'll share it with you on the website soon, but the insurance, some of the district doesn't have to pay for it at all. It's a company that works with school districts. Rio Rancho Public Schools is using this program. And what it does is it gives the parents and students access to a program that they can call up and buy an insurance on their Chromebook for like $40 a year. And it'll cover that Chromebook even if they get upset with it and drag it over their knee, they could send it in for a replacement cost. And they'll replace the cost of the entire Chromebook at the cost that we have here. Because I gave them the specs of our current Chromebooks and they'll be able to replace that Chromebook. And if somebody wants to purchase that insurance, which if we're going to be sending them home with students, I would highly encourage our principals and students and parents to utilize that. Not only working with them on Thursday to try to guide us on how to get this to the public and share this information so that when we do want to send some home at the high school level with the students, because I still see that being necessary, even though we're trying to do classroom sets as much as we can. It would be a great help to have that insurance backing them up in case, something does happen. The dog eats the Chromebook type of thing. They could definitely, cover that. I'll definitely share more information in the email or through the website if you guys want to learn more about that.
I guess my curiosity is more of an instructional nature. Is that what you use someone else made? So elaborate on that. Did you provide us a written explanation of why you need these as part of your documentation?
No, I didn't provide a written.
You're like an overview, essentially, we need these because this all that.
Okay.
Just wondering because it's
I see.
Plugging on mine.
Right.
For the record, I'm not sure, I'm not a president. And whether or not we do that as customary so that we have documentation of that is on file that that's the key and reason is the sufficient explanation of why we're doing this so that it's part of the record that shows how we went about generally the need, generally basically about it, including descriptions of going out to bids and things of that sort. I think there had been in the past, some overviews of the basis for reason. And so that's just not about you, that's just a housekeeping. Thank you.
We did approve the purchase of Chromebooks. Gosh, was it the August?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think the second August meeting. Anyway, and so correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, Mr. Widener, this is providing us the quotes that are necessary for the district to follow up on the approval to purchase the Chromebooks. This is the actual quotes. And so for clarification, you're saying the quote that you would like for us to approve is the CDWG quote confirmation. And the amount that we have on this page is $453,818.95.
That is
So this is what we're looking to approve this evening.
When we do create the post motion, to include that information that she has stated.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And that's what I'm saying is we would need that type of documentation that supports the board's vote on it. That would be attached. We didn't go back, remember this summer, even yesterday still up, but I would want us to do that is to have a document that basically has to be and that explains the issue as part of the record. And also as part of the auditing process. I'm not sure whether they actually have ever given us any guidance on that. As we might want to about that. It's just the housekeeping thing that would help us. When we look at this, we will be able to read the reason, the need, the reasons for, and all that in a succinct way. Thank you.
All right, very good. Now's the good part. Consideration of approval of the purchase of Chromebooks from CDWG in the amount of $453,818.95. Superintendent Widener.
Dr. Guy is correct. We used to kind of frame the motion for you. So I recommend that you approve the purchase of Chromebooks from CDWG in the amount of $453,818.95.
Excellent. Board members, is there a motion, please?
So moved.
I'm going to give it to Emily and Walter. It has been moved by Ms. Castaney and seconded by Mr. Avadillo to approve the purchase of Chromebooks from CDWG in the amount of $453,818.95. Any further discussion, board members? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Turley, please.
Ms. Hunt Daly?
Yeah.
Ms. Hunt Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Avadillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. Mr. Weiser?
Another item we discussed this summer, we talked about the purchase of food trucks, a mobile concession unit, and a mobile kitchen that we wanted to have for the early college, high school, and for our events in the community. You as a board approved the purchase of a mobile kitchen and a mobile concession trailer. We tasked Mr. Jones with getting us price books, and he has two very different price books. So, Mr. Jones, please fill us in on that.
Perfect. Madam President, members of the board, on the slideshow currently is the presentation that Mr. Widener made
in connection with the extension of the SFP contract on June 24th. Part of this plan was that we would purchase 2 trailers, one trailer that would be parked at the Early College High School and allow for the students at the Early College High School to have meals that were cooked fresh and not transported from one of our locations. As sometimes we found out that those meals were prepared early in the morning and sat in dining shells and not the best quality by the time they got to our students. The second was for a concession truck so that we could tailgate for homecoming events, senior day, whatever it might be, and having that flexibility of working that, and that both of those trailers would essentially be ran by Mrs. Gamboa as the nutrition coordinator. So this is kind of just to catch you up. We found out through Mrs. Gamboa in her research that finding a trailer with the specifications that we need for student food service was somewhat in excess of a typical fare truck, primarily due to fire suppression systems that are inspected and up to code. So we authored, and I say we meaning mostly Tricia Garcia, the procurement coordinator, authored an invitation to bid that we published and got these quotes in response to that invitation to bid. So you have 4 quotes, 2 for each trailer. The committee that met and opened these invitations to bid have selected the 2 trailers that are from Chavis's Food Trailers and Auto Sales that is located in Albuquerque. One in the amount of $36,364 with a delivery fee of $225, and the other $43,733 with the same delivery fee. And you can kind of see the difference between the two. One is a 12 by 8.5 and the other is an 18 by 8.5. With the 18 by 8.5 being the full service kitchen that has more square footage for more employees and those sorts of things. So, I'll add just kind of as an update and in conjunction with this, our concession sales have been fantastic since Mrs. Gamboa has taken over and kind of standardized that process. I attended homecoming at Grants High School as a Grants High School alumni, and the line to get to the concession was unreal. And it makes me happy because the money that we raise at our concession gets spent directly on students for their travel. So it's a great thing. This is kind of just bringing everything into fruition that we discussed back in June. And I would hope for an approval. The caveat with this is kind of not a gray area, but a special case in New Mexico procurement code. Typically, the board does not have to approve the purchases of anything that is less than $60,000, where this is an invitation to bid, and the same vendor was selected for 2 totals that exceed $60,000. We are doing our due diligence to protect ourselves from an audit finding by following procurement code to the T, by asking for these 2 approvals together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. Board members, any questions for Mr. Jones regarding these food trucks? I'll remind the board that we did already approve these, much like the Chromebooks. This is now up to approving which vendor, and Mr. Jones having gone through the bidding process.
Okay, just a few questions. And who is this going to be used for? You said something about concessions, and don't the students themselves use the concession for fundraising at any school? Will that hinder that? And number 2, um, I understand you said you went out and got bids, and these were the only bids that you got, but there's just 2 companies. I know you said something. We follow the bidding process, but there is such, gosh, a wide range of expenses, and I could see doing this if we were going to service more than just one site. but I also wouldn't want to infringe on the fundraising abilities at the different school sites because I know students count on that, those concessions. And I have to agree with you, the waiting process at the schools for during games is horrendous. But I just want to make sure that we're putting this money to good use for between 43 and 35,000 for how many students are we looking at to feed with this truck or food trailer?
Perfect. Thank you for your questions. The advantageous part about having trailers versus maybe something that's a little less transportable is that we can move it so that we can serve wherever our students are. So we're lucky enough that our high schools don't have homecoming on the same Friday and those sorts of things. And in that case, we have another kitchen that we can park at those sites. So we want to make sure that there's ample opportunities for our students to utilize the trailers to fundraise. So one thing that was discussed back in June was that these food trailers would provide infrastructure that is outside of the scope of a school kitchen, primarily a deep fryer. So now when you go to a cross-country meet or a track meet or something that is outdoors, you can have a funnel cake or a corn dog or something that is really, really unhealthy for you and makes you happy on the inside. And something that has good margins for our students. So when we have our athletic schedules finalized for basketball and things like that, in conversations with Mrs. Gamboa, this is something that we can park a trailer outside of the gym and we can be running orders in and out and things like that. So if we wanted to do burgers and we wanted to do hot dogs, we would have that ability to do so. I'll also add that as Mrs. Gamboa has kind of ramped up service with the concessions, we have student employees that go to our high schools that are working with their hands and using money and doing math and developing those customer service skills. So this is something that, in terms of depreciation, I anticipate that these food trucks, these trailers will last forever. As for the trailer that will be parked at the early college high school, we have a lease on that building. I think that the general feel currently from Mr. Wagner is that we will continue that lease as long as we can keep it. If and when, or if it ever does move, the kitchen can move with it. I also know that Mr. Wagner is focused on enrollment at the early college high school, and we anticipate that this trailer will be able to, because we specified it that way, service 100 students at a time. So our cafeteria staff can take care of that big of a quantity with enough time.
So
Just
currently,
really quick,
what's enrollment at the, is it early college right now?
the early college high school currently has 56 students. I'll add also, the way that student nutrition is funded is based on how many meals we give to students. So if we provide our students with better meals and better options for meals, these trailers kind of pay for themselves, especially the one at the early college high school, because currently, and Dr. Martin can weigh in, I know some of the students there personally, and they don't necessarily love the food that they're eating because it sits for a period of time. And that's really on administration to fix that problem, and this is how we're fixing it.
Okay. What happened to the good old sack lunch? I grew up on sack lunches.
I live on bologna sandwiches now, Miss Haley.
I still do too. I just, I just think that I understand the need, but I would I would hope we could challenge the kitchen department or Ms. Henneman's department to come up with a more of a viable solution instead of fixing the lunches early in the morning. Then maybe I don't know when they eat lunch, but it just doesn't. It just sounds. And believe me, I know because when I had my trucking company, I actually drove the food truck to the Jackpile mines to feed the workers up there. So I know what's involved in that. And they don't last very long. I'll tell you that much. But we made it worth its while, I guess. And then the discrepancy between the prices just kind of bothers me a little bit. I know when people saw these, they asked me, well, who's related to the Chavez food trailers and auto sales? That's the first thing they asked me. Are we patronizing somebody that's is family? So I said, I don't know. I guess I can ask, but that's beside the point. I don't know. I'm still not sold on the idea, but that's just me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else?
Yes.
Dr. Archambault?
I'm not comfortable with lack of written documentation. Because all we're hearing is verbal discussions and explanations. I'm not going to remember them. This is a purchase using public funds, and we need to be able to have documentation of that. So and sometimes verbal justifications come by me. But if you were to ask me tomorrow what these purchases about, I may not remember. I don't remember, I cannot remember all of the details. And am I required to remember all aspects of the justification for this? And then, what President, he had said that we had approved this. I was trying to go back to see when did we approve. So what should have happened was that we should have had that approval inserted in here so we knew what we approved. We approved it, then why are we doing it now? See, and verbal explanations are not sufficient. Because I'm going to go back tomorrow and verbally saying it's okay. So that's my concern about this. I'm not comfortable about doing this. I was almost not comfortable with Reynolds. But you recall that we used to have a written documentation that supported the purchase requisition of whatever tax is what. That's my concern. And so I'm not sure whether I can consider approving this tonight. Might be able to do better, but tonight I don't feel comfortable with the lack of written documentation or explanation of why we need this. I hear all the other explanations. A lot of things that I heard were nice, but they're not part of a justification for the purchase of these things. That's my comment.
Thank you, sir. Table.
I'm just saying,
Recommendation.
would you guys like to, you guys are the finance committee, so you were involved in these discussions. Do you want to chime in?
Well, I think that we wholeheartedly have to take.
We aren't the finance.
Right, but we, and looking right now at 4 board members here, I think the smartest decision that we as a board could make would be to table this and get the written description of the need for this that we did approve in, the June 24th meeting. Mr. Jones, I wholeheartedly appreciate your transparency as our finance director for the district, because this could very easily have been 2 different purchase orders for each individual truck. However, you are doing things absolutely correctly by bringing both of them to us and asking for approval, because the total is over the $60,000 when you combine them. So I thank you, sir, very much for that. So I would imagine that the recommendation from the board is gonna be to table this until our next meeting.
So with respect, and I'll speak to my
Yes, sir.
direct supervisor, what I understand is because the board was not given the information in the method that they would like it, they will withhold our students from resources so that they can get fresh lunch. Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like because it was not given in a certain medium, that was not communicated to me previous to this point. We're gonna table something that directly influences our students.
Madam President, move the table. There's no discussion.
I'll second.
Again, this is a very difficult situation because I feel that even with the tabling motion, it's gonna be a tie. And then that means the motion would fail. And so it has been moved by Dr. Archambault and seconded by Ms. Hunt Daly to table this motion until the next meeting, which is October 21st. Mr. Lee, roll call, please.
Dr. Archambault?
Well, yes, on the table.
Ms. Hunt Daly?
Yes on the table.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Nay. The motion carries to table this to the October 21st meeting. Budget and finance, sir.
Perfect. At this time, it is the annual time of year where we have our regular report updating how we spent our funds during the 24-25 school year. Yeah, during the 24-25 school year. Mr. Jones has been working to provide you with all of the expenditures and income and everything that went into and out of the budget last year. So, Mr. Jones, please present the 24-25 budget.
Thanks, sir. Madam President, members of the board, what you see on the screen is a report that is generated from School ERP Pro, which is a software that is put out by Tyler Technologies. It's really popular in the state of New Mexico. The reason why I bring that up is Tyler Technologies goes to Santa Fe and sits down with members of their budget and finance departments and says, what do school districts, what do school boards in the state of New Mexico need to see when they are taking into consideration the budget and keeping up to date on things. So this is that document. This is the document that PED and Tyler Technologies sat down and said, this would be all encompassing of what a board would need to see. You notice that there's 50 pages, which is way, way, way too much for us to discuss in a 10-minute setting. What I would like to do is touch on some of the policy that shapes this report, and also not a formal resolution, but make a resolution as directed by Mr. Widener on how frequently we are sharing this report, milestones and those sorts of things. So first and foremost, and this is directly from our board policy, the superintendent is ultimately responsible for the budget and the presentation of the budget and the expending of the budget. With his power as a superintendent, he has delegated that responsibility to me so that I can shape the budget, present the budget, expend the budget, etc. So one thing else that is happening currently is we are in the middle of an audit. We do so annually to be compliant with PED. There's a whole auditor selection process. It's somebody that's been blessed by PED to be able to carry that out. Our auditor, you know, is Byron Manning and Manning Associates. They're located in Farmington, and they're fantastic. They've been really good with me being fresh into this in terms of being a teacher auditor. So what you see here today is a snapshot of July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025. While we are being audited, and this is part of Byron's being a teacher auditor, he can see stuff and say, hey, you expended a lot of money here, you're getting close to exceeding the budget, or you did, let's journal entry and move some stuff around so that we prevent, non-compliance and things like that. So this, as it is likely to stay. There is some changes that happen after the fiscal year close because we're unpacking all of that baggage from last year and looking at all those transactions and we're making sure that that is up to date. So the second thing is that the superintendent is responsible for the monthly reconciliation of the budget with expenditures and revenues. Part of this is manifest with the consent agenda. These are our expenses that we have. This is what we're spending our money on: utilities, payroll, all of that sort of thing. What I would like to see moving forward is that the board receives this report monthly, so that once we build the budget and we start spending that money throughout the year, you can reference that and see that we're on track and that we're getting our SEG as it comes and those sorts of things. Because as you know, the board approves and writes and approves policy, reviews or does not review the superintendent, hired by the superintendent and approving the budget. So moving forward, if this was any message that you heard from me tonight, I think that it's important that we don't have the fiasco with the budget that we had last year where we kicked the can down the road until it was crunch time. So with Mr. Widener's blessing, I would encourage the board members to communicate with him on how you would like to see the budget for 2025, 2026, excuse me, we have 26, 27, so that you can get it in a format that you can approve it. PED has their format. You saw that throughout the slideshow and the checklist and all those things. I don't anticipate that that is going to change much. I just want to make sure that you all don't get blindsided when it's budget time in March and April to approve so that we can do this the right way.
That's a great idea, sir. I think that this shows, I mean, I know we all get the consent agenda, bills and expenditure report. This is definitely going to keep us informed. Board members, any questions for Mr. Jones regarding this?
Maybe not just a question, but a comment because of prior faults discovered, and I don't know if that can be discovered with this consent agenda anyway, and I'm referring to the expenditures that occurred in question. Even if we were to tailor it down to the minimum, shouldn't our auditor be the ones to tell us that there's illegal spending going on or illegal crediting to from one account to another? And it's very uneasy to have to wait a whole year to find out that there's a possibility of embezzlement happening. And shouldn't we be apprised of that as soon as it happens? Or I just don't know. I just know that I was a little bit leery when we had the findings, and as a reason for why we had to reach out or make some adjustments in our personnel. But
so things that I think will be helpful for you understanding the audit function is that one, the audit is backwards facing, meaning that they're looking at the year previous, but the way that our auditors perform audits is through a sample audit. So there might be 10,000 transactions, they'll go get 1,000 and look at them. So because it's unreasonable for an auditor to look through every volume of every expense for every line item. So that's kind of the audit that takes place. It's also forward looking because all of the findings require a plan to remediate that risk. So if there is a risk where the director of finance is able to get a cashier's check over the counter, the auditor then says, I need a written plan, how we fix that. And then they follow up the following year. So 1 year audit findings don't scare me because it's one of those things that we're like, oh, well, now we can do better moving forward because somebody's told us. It's when we have multiple years of the same finding that it's like, well, we can't be taught new tricks and we're stuck in our ways and we're unwilling to change. So again, Mr. Manning has been very good at directing how we are expending our money and making sure that we are following procurement code and making sure that we are giving journal entries timely and accurately and all of those things so that we reduce the number of audit findings. This year's audit will be ugly. And the reason for that is that we have turned on the searchlights and the spotlights, and we have said, here's where the dirty stuff is, find it, tell us how to do better, because we need to be totally transparent because ultimately we are operating with public funds. And that is why we are stewards over this money that we've been entrusted with to support our student needs. So anything that is in excess of that or is not in line with that mission or that goal, our auditors are eager to tell us how we messed up and how we can fix it.
In addition to that, I also think that we should have, oh, what did they call it? I can't remember. I used to be the accountant for Santa Fe Indian School, and we always had a double where if somebody signed something and I didn't think it was quite right, or they wanted me to sign something that I knew was not legal, then I would send it back to the requester and I would tell them, okay, I don't think we can't charge it to this account. Okay. And say for instance, it was a superintendent who was requesting it. And I tell them, well, you're going to have to sign it because I will not sign it because that protects me as the controller on these accounts as long as my signature is not on an illegal purchase. So there should somehow be, even with these present auditors, there should be a second, what do you call it, checkpoint maybe, where somebody it's like with our account, you have to have two signatures, right? On our payroll account, and even though they're stamped, automatically stamped, but there still has to be two signatures. And so I would think that would be a good checkpoint for us to have, especially with these. It may take a little bit long, but when you're dealing with millions of dollars like we are and federal funds, if we're found complacent in directing and ensuring those federal funds are being spent accordingly, then I would think we would want to have that second means of cross check so that we don't, because we're find if they find out that we're doing this, like you said, from year to year, and it's federal funds, they could yank our federal funds from us and say you're not doing a good job of checking your expenditures, and there's nothing we could say because we aren't, and so
That exists in current practice today at Grants County schools. What you're referring to are internal controls regarding procurement. For example, if Mr. Widener decides to make a purchase, he has Chanda, his secretary, gather all the documentation, the 3 quotes, everything that would be needed for the purchase of an item. And then she, through our accounting system, sends that up the queue, and then it has to be then approved by Mr. Widener. After it's approved by Mr. Widener, it goes to our procurement coordinator, who is really the fine tooth comb. I mean, she's the bottleneck. Every dollar that is spent is checked by her. She verifies that there's budget. She verifies that there's justification. She verifies every single step to make sure that we are totally above the board. Once she has done that, there are 2 people after that that can approve, me being the primary and Mrs. Wilson being the secondary if I'm unavailable to do so, because some of our procurement is timely. We need to get feeding bags for one of our students that has medical needs or something like that. We want to make sure that we're really responsive to our site needs and to our student needs. So that's occurring. For example, I can't just decide that I want to buy the school district a private jet and go and write the check for that. It has to go through a total process. Everything is documented. And that's essentially what the auditors are looking at. They're looking at those purchases. making sure they followed the proper chain, and then looking at the justification for that purchase. So that we're not being frivolous or that there's not a reason, excuse me, there's not a lack of justification for any purchase that we have. So, in the example of the trailers, the justification would be the meeting minutes from June 24th, 2025, in addition to these meeting minutes and the invitation to bid and the successful bid, so that everything is totally all together. So when an auditor says, you bought food trailers, what's going on? They go and pull that report and they say, oh, this is something that they were doing under the direction of the superintendent and support of Sue.
No, I understand all that, but this doesn't explain how we got caught this last time and how that was how we let it happen. There must have been something that fell through for the expenditure to happen that was illegal as a personal expenditure and resulted in one of our staff uh, having to be let go or having to be forced to resign. I don't know what the outcome was, but didn't seem like the process we had. Maybe it's better now that we saw the problems we had, but it wasn't fail safe before then because it still happened.
Correct, and there's a term that I use often, BC, before Cooper. A lot of that was BC, and I would direct those questions or concerns to Mr. Widener, as he'll be able to facilitate that.
Okay, and that's I know that we've improved the system. We need it to improve the system, and now we have. But that still doesn't answer the question about the food trailers and the discrepancy between the amounts was really disconcerting to me. Plus, they were the same two companies rather than a third company with, even though maybe they didn't answer the bid. I don't know what the process was for sending out the bid to begin with. So it was just very disconcerting. Thank you.
Yeah.
When I looked at the agenda items, the budget for, and then was and was, and so this is the end of the year, and this basically the energy history, budget history for the past school year, and so it's extensive, and it includes all the different funds, and beginning with operational and goes all the way to the funds that are associated with schools, programs, things of that sort. With a lot of information. Then I ask myself, what is it that we're going to put it to you desire us to do with this tonight? What is the objective for us at this meeting? And possibly if we get worded the agenda in such a way that we will know what you can do with it, and we can better understand it. So once again, what I see here is basically this was the years that the auditors are looking at. 2025. So this is, in some ways associated with the audit. And so it's kind of giving us a portrayal of how our budget was expended last year. And it would help us be more informed when the audit report comes in, then we can say, okay, we have in our minds a picture of budget in the history of how we expended funds. And if we look at it in that sense, then we might begin to make sense of some of the audit findings shortly in this year. That's the way I would read this. There's nothing that we can do about it because it's not for the current year. What we would normally expect is that that you're responsible for monthly reconciliation And to determine if there are any variances from that, then we would be informed so that if there's a need for any budget adjustments, then those things automatically occur. And I was assuming that we would receive first quarter report shortly. And so when I saw this, I thought originally that was what it was going to be about. What this actually is the foundational document for us to understand how it is coming out. Right, that's what I understand that. It should be looked in that light and make sure that I look at it that way so I better understand what we did as we expanded things. And it gives us a complete picture of a lot of things that are happening at fund level and also within schools. That's what I see. And it's informative in that way. It teaches us something about how to approach the audit when it comes down. And we'll be better prepared when that comes up. So I don't have any questions about it. I'm not sure there's nothing we can do about it. What we can do though is say that this helps us prepare ourselves for the audit in spring, when we're planning to, of course. Then we're going to get a first quarter report for excuse me, this school year. That would be my interest at this point in time. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
And to follow on Dr. Guy's request, I'd also like to see what our balance is or our budget is for our legal services.
That shows up in here.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, it's in there, and it can go in next. Mr. Jones, thank you so very much for your time this evening. We now get to go to consent agenda.
That's what I'm looking at.
Approval of bills and expenditure report for September 2025. Mr. Wagner.
I recommend that we pay the bills for September and approve the consent agenda.
Very good. Board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed for September 2025?
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Dr. Archambault to approve the consent agenda as listed for September 2025. We shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Turley, please.
Dr. Archambault?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. Board members, we now have executive session, which is discussion of limited personnel matters pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1, H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically for the board to discuss superintendent-board relations and the superintendent's evaluation. No action will be taken and only the item listed will be discussed. Is there a motion to move to executive session as presented?
So moved.
It has been moved by Ms. Daly and seconded by Dr. Archambault to move to executive session as presented. We shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Turley, please.
Dr. Archambault?
Yes.
Ms. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. The board moved into executive session at 8:15 p.m. We shall break for just a few moments to get everybody that is online into the breakout room.
I really appreciate it.
I was just getting into the baseball game.
Okay, we are not, well, no, we might be muted.
You're
I don't think, no,
I would,
that's the bottom one.
I would want the Yankees to win. I need to move this back. You?
Dodgers.
No, it's Blue
I
Jays.
don't know, I know, but we're gonna go against the Yankees.
All right, you're good right there. It's out of the line of sight.
Okay,
49ers, Dodgers.
all right, and I just ended the breakout room, so everybody should be coming back to the main one.
Yes, sir.
And it's not cut over, so it should start streaming here now.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.
After you guys.
Guy, do you want some baseball?
LA.
All right.
Dodgers, because
Emily, can you hear us
You were
again?
a California guy.
that's why he's a West Coast guy.
Emily, can you hear us?
The Brewers,
Yeah, the Brewers are gonna be.
because they have that 23-year-old pitcher. So see, I'm a player.
Yes, I can.
Okay, we're ready. All right, board members. I will reiterate, there was discussion of limited personnel matters pursuant to NMSA 1978, section 10-15-1, H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically for the board to discuss superintendent board relations and the superintendent's evaluation. No action was taken and only the item listed was discussed. Board members, is there a motion to reconvene open session as presented?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Ms. Hunt Daly to reconvene open session as presented. Mrs. Turley, roll call, please. He's gonna be funny and
wait.
snooze.
Where did he go?
He's right here. He's just being funny and not wanting to.
You don't want to adjourn yet?
Hurry
He
up.
doesn't want.
It's cold in my classroom. They turned off the heat.
Miss Daily,
I said, yes.
Mr. Jaramillo
Yes.
and Mrs. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. The board has reconvened open session at 8:45 PM. Mr. Wagner, announcements, sir.
President Lee, board members, I have 3 announcements of upcoming activities. On October 10th, it is the end of our first grading period. We anticipate that that's also around the mark of our 40th day. So we want to be sure and look at our numbers and our projections and our budget and make sure that we're on track with everything for October 10th. October 13th, the school district is closed for Indigenous Peoples Day. We will be celebrating that on Monday. And then our next regular school board meeting will be on October 21st, 2025. And we will come back and we'll have more fun.
Very good. Future agenda items,
Future
sir.
agenda items, we have a list and it's gotten a little smaller, but there's still important things we have to talk about. We want to talk about our data from last year, and our DASH plans and how we're working towards academic goals. We want to talk about our facility master plan, our strategic plan update. There is information that you all have that we are working on slowly but surely and trying to figure out what we need to put in our next strategic plan. So Hawken Pirate Stadium visitor bleachers, special education update. Mr. Chavez, he's now 2 weeks in, and so he's getting a pretty good handle on his department. And so I will throw him into the fire here in a little bit, have him do a presentation on our special education update. And as we know, it is ITP time. It's time for us to make sure that we have an ITP that is usable, that we all agree to, and that our stakeholders agree to. And then we will have the grant application coming up for the historically defined Indian impacted school. So that will come up this fall as well.
Okay,
Right now.
All right. Yes, ma'am?
I also have an issue, but I don't know if it should be on the agenda about staff conduct at board meetings. I was particularly appalled at the comment Mr. Jones made regarding what he felt was his personal opinion on not approving his.
Dressed in an email or conversation with the superintendent?
Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anything else, board members? All right, adjournment, Superintendent Weimer.
We adjourn this meeting.
So
A
moved.
second? A second?
I second.
It has been moved by Dr. Archambault and seconded by Ms. Hunt Daly to adjourn the meeting as presented. Mrs. Curley, roll call, please.
Dr. Archambault?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes, it's cold.
Mr. Jaramillo? Mrs. Lee?
Aye, motion carries. The board has adjourned at 8:48 p.m.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night. Be careful, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.